Detective Comics 585 and 586 are the origin story, I guess, not as much origin story as much as Batman meeting for the first time the Ratcatcher. And he's a particularly interesting villain to me, just because when I first played Arkham Asylum, there was a riddle about him, and it just fascinated me how this character, who wasn't even in the game, who I had never heard of, who seemed so, or now I know is so kind of minuscule in terms of importance, was just such a part of that world. Like all these little things, like they all feel like they just perfectly fit, like they have a meaning, they have a place, as if they were parts of a puzzle, just fitting perfectly, which part of the reason I love that game. But yeah, so Ratcatcher is really interesting because he's kind of a Silver Age villain who was created in the modern age, with modern age, like grit and darkness and stuff like that, but has kind of the personality of a Silver Age villain. He's very kind of wacky, over the top, but he has kind of his own execution line, in a way that's like really funny. But we don't get much with him in these issues. In fact, we don't even find out who he is until the second issue, like in the middle. But it's not really the point. The point's more just kind of putting Batman in a situation where he can have a fun fight with a bunch of rats attacking him, and it's kind of a decent detective story, even though Batman does no detective work, which is kind of a cool change of pace by having Gordon and some of his officers do the detective work, while Batman is engaged in a fight scene. I think both issues actually. So that's a cool twist on things. Also, Alan Grant, who wrote this, often has used a pretty deep, or at least more fascinating kind of villain stories. Like Anarchy's not really, actually in my opinion, he sympathizes too much with Anarchy in a way, and focuses a lot on sympathetic villains or stuff like that early on, but then this kind of shows what he started to become later, which was he worked on a lot of villains like Zaz or Cornelius Stirk, who in the late 80s, early 90s, who were pretty much just irredeemable, horrible human beings. And it's interesting with Ratcatcher because he's not insane like those guys are. Like, he doesn't even have that bit of arguable sympathy going for him. Otis Flanagan is just a jerk. Like, he murdered a man because the guy said he smelled bad, and he kidnapped the arresting officers, a judge, and somebody else, and has held them captive in the sewer for years. And he's just horrible and kind of just a jerk. And it's kind of weird and over the top of just how much of just a horrible kind of human being he is, with no real explanation. But it's kind of good, because sometimes writers would be like, oh, he had a bad childhood, or stuff like that. Here Alan Grant just says, nope, he's just a jerk. And that may seem very basic or simplistic, but it's kind of nice to have a villain who's it's just about the story. It's not about the sympathy. It's not going for sympathy or anything. It's just telling a fun Batman story. And so these are really kind of basic detective issues, but I'd still really highly recommend them, because they're just classic Batman stuff. Of course, Brady Fogle's art is fantastic, as always, and I think this is actually, in my opinion, just some of his best art, even though we don't get to see his Batmobile, which is my favorite thing he did, but still just draws Batman really well here, and there's a lot of good stuff with shade and stuff like that, and again, it's very Silver Age with the villain's not fascinating or deep, but he's fun and creates good, or at least entertaining fights for the protagonist. And it's a really interesting kind of experiment almost to see a very kind of doing a Silver Age character or Golden Age character in terms of motivation in the present day with really dark stuff. I mean, he's ripping people apart with rats, but it's mind-controlled rats, so there's kind of the violence feels like, it's not desensitizing or anything. It's not like making light of it, but it's still an interesting kind of combination to get that. It's almost contrary in a way. Well, it is contrary. Yeah, overall, just really fun issues with, some nice moments of levity at the end, and like just a fun, entertaining read, which is something you don't get that often, and it's something that Alan Grant, I'd say, does pretty well throughout his run.